Recording. Okay, in three, two, one. What's up, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Three Amigos podcast. Anthony Olan here with Chris Langsdorf. We don't have Frankie Rodriguez with us today, but he will be with us hopefully on the next one. What is up, Chris? How are you doing?
I'm good, man. We're back. It's good to be back. We got some exciting stuff to talk about.
I didn't even know it was today. Like I had a meeting earlier and I was working on some stuff, and then I see a PlayStation event at 4 o'clock today, and I was like, oh, perfect. 'Cause my meeting's at 3, so I have enough time to finish the meeting and get ready for the event.
Oh no, I like had this marked down. Like I've been waiting ever since they announced it. I've been very excited because I am blessed enough to own a PlayStation 5. And Sony, they didn't really talk a lot about anything that wasn't a PlayStation 5 in this presentation. So seems like they're going real heavy in that direction, which is great. Hopefully more people can actually get them soon. Yeah, but a lot to talk about, man. A lot to talk about.
Yeah, because I went with a Xbox Series S because it was available, it was cheaper, and there was nothing out there for PlayStation that I wanted to play. But now we got some great things coming our way. So I do have a list of games here that was announced. We're gonna try to quickly go through some of the earlier stuff from the show, and then we're gonna have more detailed discussion about the main big pieces of meat that they showed. The main
Oh yeah.
courses.
Yeah, they dropped some nukes. They dropped some nukes.
Yeah. So
Just like repeated nukes. The last 10 minutes of the show, just bang, bang, bang. Like, oh my God. Yeah.
so we do have a game announced called Tiny Tina's Wonderland. It's like a fantasy Borderlands, in my opinion. That's what it looked like to me. It had the Borderlands art style. It's by 2K and Gearbox. Did you see that in the presentation, or did you skip over that?
I'm gonna be honest. I thought that was a Borderlands game, so I would just
So did
started
I.
scrolling through. And until you mentioned that it was not, but and I saw 2K and I was like, oh, okay, Borderlands. I mean, I know people like those games. I don't really care. I watched it. I watched the presentation not live, so I had the thank God I had the gift of being able to skip through some of this stuff. But yeah, the same art style. I don't. Maybe they'll tie it into that universe somehow.
Right.
I mean, I know that those games were pretty popular, so wouldn't surprise me. But it's cool for the people that like that style.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that franchise, but if you are, you have that. I don't know when it's releasing exactly. I don't have release dates for most of these games.
They didn't
Um,
give that many. They didn't
yeah,
even
there really
really
wasn't.
like release date is strong. They barely even gave years.
Yeah,
Like some of
I
this
even
stuff,
had
they just showed
to.
it, and that was it.
I even rewinded some of them to see if there was a date announced, but there really wasn't.
Yeah,
Forspoken, that's a very interesting title from Square Enix. No release date, but they did show some gameplay, some really interesting gameplay, some dialogue, a little bit about the story. I'm all for having games with a female protagonist. Especially a minority female protagonist. Get more
yeah,
diversity in our gaming. Um, we're both minorities, so we respect it, we appreciate it.
yeah. I mean, I like Square Enix a lot. I think they usually have a lot of really cool ideas, even if most of them get pretty weird. So I think like either you're into how weird their stuff gets, kind of like Kingdom Hearts, which is as much as I love Kingdom Hearts, it is one of the most confusing franchises ever. Um, and this game looks pretty cool. I thought the environments looked awesome. I think that's kind of something that we're seeing a lot with these, I guess, quote unquote, next gen games. I don't really know if any of these things are going to be only on PlayStation 5. But the environment looked really cool. The traversal looked really cool. I kind of like that it looks like it's going to have some platform elements to it. And I still don't really know what it's about. But a lot of the abilities, at least the ones they showed off, look pretty interesting. It seems like you upgrade or unlock new abilities for that thing that's around her arm.
like the
Uh,
bracelet thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that bracelet. And yeah, it looked pretty cool. I thought they announced this like maybe a year ago as Project something. I forget what the code name was originally,
Right.
but it looked pretty cool then, and I'm excited to see it's coming along. This was the most gameplay they've showed of it so far. So I guess that means we're getting closer, but they also, I don't think they've ever talked about a release date or window. So, who knows?
Yeah,
Square
one can only
Enix typically,
assume
yeah,
2023 probably. They do take a while with the Square Enix games because then the Final Fantasy 7
probably.
remake took forever to release.
Yeah. Square Enix likes to take their time, man. They like to
Yeah.
take their time. I mean, they've been working on Final Fantasy Part 2 for quite a while, or Final Fantasy 7 Part 2 for a while. So,
Yeah.
I look, over the years, I much prefer take your time. Take your time.
Yep.
Don't we don't need, it's cool when they give release dates and you can get pumped up and pre-orders and all that. Take your time, please. If the game needs another 2 years, great. Have it. Like whatever you need. So yeah, but it looked pretty cool. What'd you think? What'd you think?
My only thing that I hope for is I do hope that the environments do, whatever the aspect would be. So, some of the environment would have some life in it. Like, a lot of people take these type of games and they compare it to Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was mostly dead in terms of NPCs. It was just like small areas that had a few NPC characters. And I don't think we're going to get a lot of NPCs in this world. I think it's mostly just you and your enemies. But I like to, with these major worlds they're building for us, I want to see some life in it. Um, but the combat is interesting to me. And there was that joke about her naming what she can do, and she's like, "Oh, can I fly?" And it's like, uh, you know, uh, that's a bit too much kind of thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but
So
maybe she
there's some
could.
personality there. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. So I'm excited to see what they do with it. I'm also excited to see how they're going to handle the adaptive triggers. When a new console releases and they have these new features, like when the PS3 and the PS4 had the six-axis motion controls, only like two games would use it, and then no other game would use it.
Yeah.
So I hope that they can put that into use. So we got a few more games here. A couple of them we can just briefly pass over, which is Rainbow Six Extraction, which was kind of like my vibe of it was Rainbow Six with some type of infection like Last of Us or maybe aliens. I don't really know. Um,
It's basically zombies.
yeah, and I think that's
This
a
is
first for Rainbow
basically,
Six.
I mean, they announced this like a while ago, so I was kind of surprised to see it show up. I don't know what PlayStation's relationship is with this franchise. Like, I don't know if they have the like marketing or whatever
Right.
advertising
They
rights for
they
the
might.
game. So because this was mentioned a while ago. I mean, it's cool if you're like a diehard Tom Clancy Rainbow Six fan. I it kind of felt like it was in this presentation to just pad out the runtime, especially when you see what some of the things at the end of the presentation were. Uh, but again, like with a lot of this stuff, if you're into that game, then it's cool because you get like something's coming up that you're going to be excited about.
You
I'm
know,
not I'm not a Tom Clancy person, but that's
it's
exciting.
funny. I just saw this review about this old video game, and it was created by a former I don't know if he was like a Marine or a soldier, who he served, a former military person. And they were saying that this game failed compared to other Tom Clancy games, but Tom Clancy never served in military. And so it's kind of funny to see someone who didn't serve is making better games than the person who did serve. And I can't remember the name of the game, but it had Mickey Rourke as the main character,
Oh wow.
and it was just awful. I'll
Man,
find it and share
throwback
it
to
with you
when
later.
Mickey Rourke became like famous again for those like few years when he did The
Yeah.
Wrestler and Iron Man 2.
and the Expendables. I think he was in one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
He
find
had a
that
good
video and I'll
little
share it
like
with you.
3 to 5 year run there where he was
Yeah,
like super A. I think he even had like a match at WrestleMania. Oh my god,
he did.
that
Yeah, it was after the
was
movie, I think.
really cool.
Yeah.
That guy he rode it all the way to the top. He was like, I'm finally getting some shine. I'm doing
Yeah.
everything, literally everything. Oh my
We
god.
got Alan Wake remastered. My understanding, Alan Wake was originally an Xbox exclusive, and now it's on PlayStation.
Yeah.
That's going
Yeah.
to be a conversation for people. I know firsthand how the communities can feel about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what the point is. Are they making a sequel? I know isn't it? Is this the one that's connected to Control?
There's some relationship there. I like
It's like in the
there's
same
definitely going to
universe,
be a
right?
sequel. There's going to be a sequel because there's literally no reason to remaster this game otherwise.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure there's going to be another Control game. I wouldn't be surprised if they cross them over in some way. Yeah, I didn't. I mean, obviously back in the day, I think I had traded in my Xbox when Alan Wake, but like before that came out.
Right.
But I remember a friend of mine playing it, and it looked pretty cool. I liked that. I remember thinking it was really innovative that the flashlight was your weapon
Right.
um, in the game. It's a pretty old game at this point. I guess it's cool to see it remastered. I don't really know what happened there. Like, I have no idea how it became like a net. Like now it's on PlayStation. It's getting a PS5 version, but it's not. I'm not like pumped up. I'm not like I wasn't like jumping off the couch like holy shit,
Right.
Alan Wake is back. But again, I think it's one of those things where like if it leads to a continuation of the franchise, cool. You know.
The crossover is going to be called Control Alan Wake.
Control was a cool game. I have the complete edition, but I didn't play the Alan Wake DLC. But
I
uh,
still haven't played it. I mean, I played like a demo of it on Switch, and I just never really tried it because it's on
yeah,
Game Pass. So
it was pretty interesting from what I played so far. But you know what, man? I think as we're gonna get into in a little bit, there's just so many games sometimes you can't get to all of them.
yep,
But yeah, so yeah, Alan Wake coming out, I think this year. Yeah.
I think so. So we're gonna move on to just a quick rapid fire on some of these titles. GTA 5 releasing in March of 2022 for the PS5. I think that's an exclusive release. I don't think it's coming for Xbox Series X.
Who
Um,
cares?
exactly. We
Who
so much
cares?
GTA 5. It was a PS3 game, and that means PS3 and 360,
Yes.
and then PS4 and Xbox One.
Yes.
It's
And now they're gonna sell it to you again.
again,
If that game comes out for $60, I'm gonna lose my shit.
and it looks
I'm
exactly
gonna
the
lose my
same. It
shit.
doesn't look that much upgraded. Like
It's because it's there. What can you do? The
exactly,
game is fucking like what is
unless
it? 13 years
unless
old?
you're
Oh
doing a
my
ground
god.
up, which at this point, if the rumors are true for 3 Vice City and San Andreas to get remastered, just give me that. Even if because it's supposed to be going everything, every console, PC, everything. Just give us
Yeah.
that. We don't want this. I mean, I don't know who out there wants GTA 5. Who hasn't played GTA 5 yet? Unless you're Frankie, because he didn't really play it.
I don't know. I, I don't know. I really don't know who this is for. I'm trying to think. When did the original GTA 5 come out?
It was September of um was it wasn't 2013, right? Was it
I
fifth?
think 2013. So to any kids who were 9 years old when the game first came out, congratulations, because next year you will finally be old enough to buy GTA 5 and get it on PlayStation 5 and Xbox One or whatever they're calling the new Xbox. I,
It's funny because with me having a bad memory, I remember the location of the GameStop we went to get it. Um and that many years ago, and it's like wow, we had it on PS3. That was like one of the last few PS3 games of that generation, and then
yeah.
We got Ghostwire Tokyo. I don't really know much about it. A lot of people have been talking about it on the internet. So if you're excited for it, they showed more gameplay. Go look it up. Go check it out.
Yeah, the
Um,
only thing I know about that is that it was another, I believe it was supposed to be PlayStation exclusive, and then it had to do something with a studio Xbox purchased. And so they let Sony keep the exclusivity, but once that runs out, don't expect to see any more Ghostwire games on PlayStation for a while. Yeah.
yeah. We can skip Guardians of the Galaxy because
I wish the fucking company that's making it skipped Guardians of the Galaxy. Why does that game exist? Oh my God.
yeah.
I tried to have an
Uh,
open mind. Like I did start watching the trailer at first. And I think they showed something at E3 or a few months ago. I I don't care. I don't care. And that game comes out this year. It's one of the few games left that releases this year. And I don't I wish if it okay. Let me I we should clarify. If Insomniac was making this game, I'd be hyped.
right.
I'd be like, "Oh shit. Insomniac and Guardians, they're going to do something crazy." But it's not Insomniac. If it's not them and it's not Rocksteady, I don't care. I just don't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like apparently only certain developers can seem to manage how to make superhero games. Insomniac with Spider-Man and Rocksteady makes the Batman ones, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know, but we do have some stuff coming up soon. So just sit tight, everyone, when we get to there. Um, last couple things on my list before we get to the big stuff. Vampire Blood Hunt, multiplayer shooter with vampires. The only one that stood out to me was Nosferatu because that's a famous vampire
Yeah.
story or whatever.
Yeah.
Deathloop, we got some gameplay of it. I was never really interested in it. Now that I see the gameplay and the story on sale, I'm interested for it on sale,
Yeah.
Um,
If you haven't seen Deathloop gameplay by now, I need to know your secret. I need to know how you've avoided it because I have been beaten over the hedge with gameplay for that game for months, years, I think at this point, because it's been delayed like 12 times. I can't wait for it to come out so they can stop showing it at every gaming showcase for the last like 18 months. I'm very excited for it to finally come out. I'm not gonna play
and
it. I just can't wait for it to come out so they could stop talking about it.
and we got remastered news of Uncharted 4 and was it Lost Legacy? Was that the spinoff title?
Yeah, they're doing, I guess, like a 5 game package, right? Is that all the Uncharted games except the one for the Vita? They're doing like one, two, three, four, and the DLC slash expansion Lost Legacy.
Oh, they're all coming out. I thought it was just 4 and Lost Legacy.
Oh, I don't know. I skipped
Uh,
through most of the trailer.
yeah, I think it's just 4
Um,
and Lost Legacy.
oh yeah, that's cool. I think that trailer was more to show that it's coming to PC
Oh
because
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
I
right.
mean it's Uncharted. Like, I mean, of course, you're at some point. Like, I'm sure they were going to release it for PlayStation 5. It's like he's one of their mascots. But
Right.
yeah, I think that was more just to tease. Oh, we're putting more of this stuff on PC.
Yeah, I keep seeing comments even to this day on my Bethesda video about all your Sony games are going to PC anyway. And a lot of them are, not all of them, but a lot of
First
them
of
are.
all, but you know what? Look, until until Sony actually puts okay, until something happens where they release an exclusive on PC the same day, I don't care. I don't want like if like I don't want to play a fucking Uncharted 4 5 years after the game came out. Like if you're really that's worse than Switch. People who own Switches wait less time than that to play these games. Like you, come on, come on. That takes so long.
And they
It
don't always
you know.
work. When Horizon got ported to Switch, Horizon Zero Dawn, they had to make a lot of updates to it because it didn't work. Um, and people out there they have a hard time admitting when their favorite console or platform doesn't always do everything right. I could talk for hours about what the Nintendo Switch gets wrong. I could talk for hours about what Sony gets wrong, but also what they get right. And same thing with Xbox. Xbox still uses batteries in 2021. What the fuck? But
I don't know.
you know,
I still don't get it. I still don't get it.
so if you have PC only and you've been waiting for Uncharted, then yeah, I'm happy for you. Uncharted for me was a long game. I feel like it was a long game. I got
Yeah. Well,
to
they
I
were
got to a
ending
point.
they were ending the franchise.
I got to a point where I was like, can I beat this game already? Because it was just too long. Lost Legacy is a fun time. Like I said, anytime we get to play as more diverse characters, especially with strong female roles. Um, what was the name of the one from Lost Legacy? It's Chloe, right? Is that her
Chloe,
name?
yeah, she was a great character too.
She
So if
was
you're
one of my
gonna give a
favorites from the
spin-off,
franchise. Yeah,
yeah,
she
if
was
you're
one of my
gonna give a
favorites.
spin-off to anybody,
She was probably my
her,
most favorite female in the games.
yeah, her and I think the other girl was Nadine,
Yeah,
who was
Nadine.
just
Yep.
this fucking like hulked out henchman in Uncharted 4.
Yep. And now
Uh,
she has some more time to shine.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so that's if you're excited for that, great. I mean, if it looks better on PS5, I don't know how much better it can look, but it
It's gonna
still
be the
holds up.
usual, 60 FPS, 4K. Maybe they'll throw some adaptive trigger stuff in for shooting the guns or something,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's a game that came out like 5 years ago.
Now we got the main um topics. The
Real quick, worth mentioning. Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
it-
yeah.
it's getting a remake. So now in the great gaming world, that's a very important word because remaster, as everybody knows, means that we just get, oh, it's in 1080p, oh, it's in 4K, 60, all the buzzwords. Remake though, we're getting ground up.
Yep.
We are getting a ground, like from the ground up rebuild of the original game. It's going to be, current day graphics, all that stuff. So, as someone who never played the original and just watched gameplay and loves Star Wars video games, I'm very excited. Very
So
excited. Darth Raven, one of the coolest character
yep.
designs in the franchise. Very excited for that. Yeah.
So if you're one of those who play it on mobile, take what you know about it, take what you see about it, and throw that shit out the window and get ready for some next gen Star Wars mother.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. I'm not going to lie. When I saw the Lucasfilm logo, Lucas Arts or whatever they're calling the game studio, uh, I was hoping for Fallen Order 2 because we
Yeah,
still have not heard or seen anything about that game, and it's been a while since the first one came out now.
I still haven't beaten the first one.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing was Gran Turismo
Oh
7.
yeah, Gran Turismo. Um, my only problem with it is I like Forza better.
Yeah.
Even with the motorsport series, I always like, the way Forza controls, the UI. Gran Turismo always had a weird UI, and I noticed with the last Gran Turismo, the game looks better in trailers than it does in gameplay. Like it still looks great, but it doesn't look as good as they're showing you. This one could be different with the whole next gen new thing. Um,
Yeah, maybe.
but I've always liked Forza better. So I mean, I'm down to try it if I ever get a PS5. Hopefully at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it looks, racing games, Forza and Gran Turismo, they're always going to look amazing. So I think the thing for me is Gran Turismo, just the world always felt a little more bare than Forza, which the world in Forza always feels a little bit more alive. Um, but again, it's a racing sim, so
Right,
they're mostly just, doing racetracks and they're not really trying to have like a big open world, and also
right.
doing that allows them to focus more on like graphics for the cars and all that. So
Well, I will also
you know
say, when you compare Gran Turismo to the Forza Motorsport series, because that one is the Motorsport one is the main, racing sim, close tracks thing. In my opinion, Gran Turismo does have better tracks than Forza Motorsport does. But
mm,
Forza does have Horizon. It does have the open world experience. I would like to see how Gran Turismo would handle open world games because they do have some features in Gran Turismo that Forza doesn't, like the photo mode, so you can put your car in different locations.
That looked
I
amazing.
I did one on the last game where I put a Mustang in front of like the
Oh,
Brooklyn
and we
Bridge
couldn't tell the
or
difference. We couldn't tell if it was real or
yeah.
fake.
And I was like, guys, it's a video game. Like, no, it's not. Like, yeah, it's a video game.
Yeah,
So
that
it'll
looked
be
amazing.
cool to see how
Yeah.
they handle open world.
Yeah.
Um, so you ready for the big bad and
Oh man, the main course. Let's dive in.
so
Let's dive in. Should we
I'm gonna
go in
start.
order? Because I believe they started with Insomniac's new game.
Yeah, we can go in. Well, yeah, we can go in order. We can go in order. Um, Wolverine. Oh my god,
Yeah, who saw that one coming?
I
I
honestly didn't.
I could not have predicted. I mean, I think a lot of us were like, we all had ideas of like what other Marvel property should Insomniac do.
hmm
And the fact that it's Wolverine tells me, or at least makes me think a couple things. It's one, they chose Wolverine
Right.
because I mean, I like he's a very popular character, but it seemed like there were other more like characters more at the forefront of Marvel right now that they could have done. Could have done a Captain America game, could have done something Avenger, Iron Man,
Yep.
related like that. Fantastic Four, Black Panther. Like there's other characters currently more seen than Wolverine. But the thing that gets me excited about the prospect that they picked Wolverine specifically is that it means they must have a really good idea of what they want to do.
Yeah.
And I remember playing the Wolverine game based on the movie, very loosely
Origins.
based on the movie because that game kind of just went off and did its own thing. And that game was fucking awesome. That is like
Yeah.
one of the greatest video game tie-in movie games ever made.
Yep.
And see, like if they take any inspiration from that, it can only be like it's going to be such a great. I have no reason to think this won't be amazing, right? Like
Right.
when
Exactly.
Spider-Man came out and we were just like, that was the best Spider-Man game I've ever played in my life. I can't see Wolverine being bad. It's Insomniac. Yeah, I'm excited. Go ahead, man. What do you got? What do you
So
got?
I'm thinking that because a thought that came to my head was how would they handle gameplay for Wolverine? Um, and it may not be open world, and that's fine.
Yeah,
Not
I
every
think
game
I
has to
was
be
gonna
open world.
say actually, I think Wolverine is a better character for levels
hmm
because like he's not. I mean, like you could
Unless they
have
give you a
like
motorcycle, then yeah. But
yeah, but like you could have like an X mansion, I guess. But like when you think of Wolverine, you don't really you kind of think of him as a drifter. You don't think of him as like, oh yeah, he's does a lot of stuff in New York City. Like like
right,
what city he's there's a lot of superheroes where you associate them with a specific
right.
area. And for me, I don't know, the forest, like an island, like I don't, you want to
Unless
stick
you
Wolverine on like
do,
a Ghost of Tsushima style island, okay, like
unless you do
but I don't really know.
like a Days Gone type of thing, like like ride a motorcycle
Yeah,
around. But whatever they do with it, it's going to be amazing. And they completely throw you off because in the trailer, he's wearing like a plaid shirt, like a trucker outfit.
yeah,
And then you see the claws, and it's like, okay, it doesn't matter what he's wearing, it's Wolverine.
yeah. When as
Like,
soon as I saw the hairy arms, I was like, holy shit. And I think I was more stunned that Insomniac's name popped up, with like the Marvel logo and
right.
Wolverine and all that. I was like, oh my God. Because, I still think of them as the Ratchet and Clank developers. And now,
hmm
they branched off into Spider-Man. And I was like, hey, if you want to give me, alternate years, give me a new Ratchet and Clank, then give me a new Spider-Man. I'm good. Like that's great for me. To see that they're taking on another Marvel character who has really only ever had one good game, and it was Like it wasn't the greatest superhero game ever, but it was, pretty good, for what it was.
Right.
That's really exciting. And it's cool to see that acquisition for Sony, that they're going all in with Insomniac. Like, I mean, I can't remember the last time a studio went from, making just one game to becoming a behemoth, like almost overnight, it kind of seems, right? Like all this extra responsibility. Like, because
Right,
Sony, we think
right.
of them, Naughty Dog, Santa Monica, but all of a sudden Insomniac is like, they're putting their foot down. They're like, hey, we're here. Like, we're a big fucking company. That's very exciting.
And it's very exciting to see like the possibilities going forward with other Marvel characters, in Incredible Hulk or maybe an Iron Man game at some point.
Yeah.
Um
Black Panther. Could you imagine their
yeah.
take on Wakanda?
Oh man, that'd
Like,
be incredible.
oh my God. Yeah, I think it's really cool to see that they're gonna do more Marvel stuff. Because
Yeah.
I remember when the first Spider-Man game came out, it was like a big deal that Spider-Man was gonna become a console exclusive game in the first place. And which, everybody has their opinions about exclusives. They are dumb, but at the same time, they move units. So,
Right.
it just, Pokemon's been doing exclusive shit for like 25 years. So that's just kind of the name of the game at this point. But it's really cool to see that, like, because you remember in the first Spider-Man game, spoilers, I guess if you haven't played it, please go play it. Towards the end of the game, they start throwing in like so many villains. And
Yeah.
I remember, at least when I was playing it, I think we might have talked about this. Like, it almost felt like they were saying, we don't know if we're going to get to make another one. So just in case we don't, like, here's Rhino, here's Electro, here's Scorpion. Like, everybody's going to be in
Right.
this one. And then to see they were getting a sequel and they put out Miles, and then to see that they're doing Wolverine is like, whoa, like Sony really and Marvel really trusted them after just one game. All
Hmm.
they did was make one Spider-Man game, and now they've got like all this extra opportunity. So yeah, I'm pumped for Wolverine.
And it's funny you mentioned Spider-Man because when I saw the Insomniac logo and I was like, okay, I can live with a Wolverine announcement. Then we get Spider-Man 2.
Oh my God, just drop. I'm like recovering. I was like, holy shit, Wolverine. Okay, there's not going to be a Spider-Man 2 news, but like, whoa, I
I
could not
was
have imagined. Like,
I was
and
going full Mighty Keith mode when I saw that.
dude, like, okay, I think with Wolverine is like, that's one of my favorite superhero characters ever. Like, I have a fucking big ass Wolverine statue in my apartment.
Hmm.
Like, I love Wolverine. When I was a kid, I had the fucking like Toys R Us claws that you could get for like
Nice.
$20. Like, I had so much dumb Wolverine stuff. Like, who as a kid didn't put like the butter knives between your fingers and like pretend to
Pencils.
be
We did it with
Wolverine?
pencils in school.
Yeah, I fucking love Wolverine. So I was so excited to see him get a game that I was like, you know what? If that's it, and then they're gonna go into God of War, which we all know is gonna be there, that's cool. Like,
Yeah.
they'll give us Spider-Man news next year or something. And then they drop Spider-Man 2 on us. Oh,
And it's funny, the trailer wasn't that long, but there is quite a bit of information that we got from this trailer.
oh yeah, we got a
Assumptions.
lot to break
So
down.
a friend of mine told me he thinks the game is going to be co-op because they show Peter and Miles do a takedown together.
Mm-hmm.
I compare that to the Arkham Knight when you do the team takedown with the other characters. I don't foresee them doing a co-op game. Um, if it
Yeah,
ain't
I
broke,
don't
don't
think
fix
so
it.
either. Yeah, I
I,
don't
I
think so.
really don't think. Here's what I think. I've always had this assumption because spoilers for the first game, if you didn't beat it, it did tease at the end of Harry being Venom. There is a
Yes.
version of Venom that was Harry. And so if the other thing that people might know is the universe that has Miles is the universe that Peter would die. So I think the reason why we got a Miles game was that You get a feel for the character for that short game because he might die in this game and you play as Miles for the rest of the game and for the third game. Who knows, right?
I
Um,
mean, in Miles, he almost died in the first 5 minutes.
yeah.
So and it's Insomniac, and they, if you played Spider-Man 1, like that was a really good story. They told that story really well. I wouldn't be surprised if part of the reason for that introduction in Miles Morales was to show you that Peter is not invincible.
Right.
Because in the first game, he takes on a lot of villains and he pretty much beats them all pretty easily. I guess the Mr. Negative boss fight, maybe he was like kind of tested, but not really. Like, he was still like
Right.
invincible Spider-Man for most of the game. And then in the beginning of Miles Morales, he literally almost like he was going to die. Like
Yeah.
If Miles didn't step in. So yeah, like you said, I think that's a pretty real possibility. That yeah,
And then we also got my brother was asking me, he's like, "Are we gonna get the black suit?" Of course we are.
yeah,
Of course. They said from the last game, the black suit wasn't in the last game because they wanted it to be part of the story.
yeah.
And the trailer ends with Venom. We got
Oh my gosh.
Venom. So the black suit will be in the game. They also kind of tease it when they show the logo at some point in the trailer. It's kind of like a black color to it behind the spider.
Yeah,
Um
feels like the box art is gonna be black. Like they're gonna lean into the Venom stuff really heavily.
yeah.
I always thought part of the reasoning for the design of the suit that they made in the first game was that it looks like the Venom symbol. Like usually Spider-Man doesn't have a big fucking white,
Right.
like dangerous looking spider on the front of his suit, and it looks awesome. But it also looks a lot like the same symbol that the symbiote, at least in the comic books, not the Sony movies, looks a lot like
Yeah,
that
right.
symbol. So yeah, I'm excited.
And
Should we
it's
talk
funny,
about who the other voice in the trailer might have been?
in 1 second, I want to mention one thing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. Dive
Hot
in.
Topic has various Spider-Man hoodies, that you can buy. One of them is from the game, but it's in black. And I've always been avoiding buying it. Now I can go buy it because this game is
Mm,
releasing. And if you look on Hot Topic, you can kind of get an idea of what the black suit could look like in this game. I'll
mm.
try to post it in this podcast to get like a picture of it. But the other voice, so when I did my video about it, I was like, oh yeah, we're hearing somebody talk. It could be Eddie, it could be Harry. But then I actually listened to what he was saying, which was he's looking for someone to compete against him to be his equal. And I thought, why would Eddie or Harry, depending on who Venom is this time,
Yeah.
why would they be saying to themselves, can you match up to me? And Venom saying, yes, we can. We think it's Craven. We
I think it's Craven.
It's got
Yeah.
to be Craven. It's got to be Craven Hunter. He was absent from the last
Um.
game.
Yeah. He wasn't in the last game, and I mean, there are some characters who were not in the last game who it could be. However, none of them sound like Craven.
Yeah.
It wasn't Mysterio's voice.
Hmm.
I mean, they used a lot of characters in that first Spider-Man game.
Yeah.
But I,
You can even tell by the
I'd be surprised also because Craven is one of the few villains aside from, I mean, like I don't think Carnage would be in the game unless Sony is gonna like force them to jam Carnage in to like
right.
tie it in with future movies.
Probably a third game,
I
Carnage.
mean, otherwise, sounds like Craven, and he's on the last time he showed up. I think at least like it's been a long time in terms of Spider-Man games.
Yeah.
I think they threw him into Amazing Spider-Man too, but they threw everybody into that game
Yeah.
because nobody cared anyway. Yeah,
and and it's crazy because when you think about like you listen to his voice and you hear what he's saying, I
yeah,
can't imagine any other character who would say those kind of things.
right. Because
Um,
Craven has so many abilities that like that's
right.
his thing. Is like, yeah. Also, if they are gonna kind of follow in the footsteps of the first game, they had two villains. So they had
Yeah.
Mr. Negative, who was the villain for 90% of the game. And then they had Doc Ock, who was the villain they were building the whole game. I wouldn't be surprised if they follow a similar storytelling technique through this game
Right.
where Craven is like the first villain for most of it, and then Venom comes in at the end because they've teased Venom twice, and in both cases, it doesn't exactly look like he's ready to show up yet.
Right.
Like Harry was in pretty bad shape. So I'd be surprised if 5 minutes into Spider-Man 2, Venom is there.
Right.
Um, so I don't know, maybe we'll get some Harry Peter storyline for a while, similar to him and Doc Ock. And man, I was recovering from the Wolverine news, so I was like, yeah. Also, I gotta say, and I heard other people mention this too. I thought it was Infamous 3 when the trailer first started with the electricity on
Right.
the
Exactly.
street light,
Yeah.
which is how Cole used to like recharge his energy a lot in the first couple of games. And there were already rumors about like, are they gonna do another is Sucker Punch gonna do another Infamous game? Will they bring back Delson? Will they bring back Cole?
Right.
I I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was Infamous 3. I say 3 because to me, Second Son doesn't really count.
Yeah. It doesn't. Screw that
Uh,
game.
I want 3 as in continuing Cole's story.
Right.
But I mean, Spider-Man 2. You know what crossed my mind during this was like they did this whole presentation and and there was so much they didn't show, like, and not like this is not like a console war thing because really just own all of them. Like that's unfortunately with exclusives, that's the way you got to go. Like I think Forza looks amazing. I got to go buy a fucking Xbox to play it. But they didn't show anything else from Horizon. They didn't show anything from Final Fantasy 16. I mean, they didn't show anything Ghost of Tsushima 2 or even like a drop a logo like they did with God of War last year. That's pretty crazy how deep that roster is
Yeah.
of exclusive games that they could just leave out some of that stuff and still our jaws are just dropping because they just hit like so many massive games towards the end of this presentation.
And I will
Yeah.
say, I am looking forward to seeing what other villains are going to be in this Spider-Man game. I don't know who's returning. We already had Rhino return in the Miles game, and he had a bit of a bigger role in that game.
Yeah.
But I do have a feeling, based on the first game, we might also see Green Goblin in this game. Not too
Oh.
fond of the Norman Osborn we got. He just looks like an old man Conan O'Brien, and I love Conan O'Brien. It's just like I don't, but we can definitely see Green Goblin, especially since if Harry's going to be
Yeah.
Venom, he's going to, we can see that going on. I'm wondering if Venom is going to be the one who ultimately stops Craven, because in the trailer, it gives the assumption that he's also trying to compete against Craven, against Peter and Miles.
Yeah.
If they make him playable, holy shit, probably
I
won't,
mean,
but
I was
probably
actually going
won't.
to say on the point of the idea about the co-op, because like I'm curious to see how they incorporate Peter and Miles
Yeah.
because Miles had way better abilities than Peter. Like he could turn invisible and shoot electricity out of his fucking
Hmm.
hands. Like he's just, I mean, he's just got better abilities. I don't know how else to say it. But Peter
Exaggerated
is,
swagger.
yeah, of a black teen, obviously. I felt it as I watched the trailer. I was like, wow, I feel like I'm a black teenager. I'm going back in time. Exaggerated swagger.
I can't believe they still keep that video up. And that guy, oh man.
Oh, he said that in a review. He felt the exaggerated swagger of a
And
black teen.
I think he's Puerto Rican too, I think.
I know he's a minority. What are you
Yeah.
doing, man? Oh my god. Oh,
I do
all
want to
right.
say before we end the Spider-Man part and move on to the final announcement thing.
Oh, wait. I wanted to mention about the co-op.
Okay, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they treat Miles in this game the way they treated MJ and Miles in the first game.
You
Um,
know,
they took, I think anyway, Insomniac is one of those companies, at least playing a lot of their games, Ratchet and Clank, Miles Morales. Um, they listen to fan feedback. Like a lot of people didn't like the MJ stuff in the first game.
mhm,
They'll take it out. Like there wasn't any equivalent in Miles Morales. There was none.
right,
There was no random side character that you had to play as, forced into playing as for multiple missions.
yeah,
So, I think they heard that and they were like, okay, we're going to take that part out of the game. I think there was a lot of stuff they did in Miles Morales that got me excited for a full game because I liked how they handled the side missions better. There was like a lot of small stuff in that game that I thought this is a big improvement on what the original was.
right,
So I still think Peter's gonna be the main character, but I don't know, or maybe it'll be fucking like GTA 5 style where they just let you swap between the two. Because if it's a dual story, then maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. But that was my idea. I thought maybe they would treat it like Miles does some of the side stuff and Peter does the main
right. Because I was
mission.
gonna say I don't want anything like the MJ missions from the first game. Um, I hate when they say, "Oh, it gives you a chance to take a quick break from the action and have a moment to do." No, I don't want to stop the action. I want
Right.
to be
Like
Spider.
when during a Spider-Man game have you ever
Yeah,
been like, I'm getting a little bored of being Spider-Man.
right.
Like,
It's like
I want to solve some puzzles. Like,
it's like I don't want to play Spider-Man featuring Mary Jane Watson. I'm trying to be Spider-Man, trying to be the
yeah.
friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. But I do hope that you do see something in terms of like either you choose one character or the other, like Assassin's Creed Syndicate. You could choose whichever one you want to play as throughout the game.
Yeah.
Or if we see something like Red Dead Redemption, where at the end you just take over as Miles for the rest of the game, just how you get
Yeah.
Jack Marston, or in Red Dead 2, you get John Marston at the end. Um,
Yeah.
but endless possibilities. And I do want to say on the final note for Spider-Man, it releases in 2023. Hopefully, it doesn't get pushed back further than that, unless it has to. And hopefully that's enough time for those who don't have a PS5 to get one. My brother said he bets me that if they make a Spider-Man edition PS5, I'm gonna buy it. And I sent him the Breaking Bad gift that says you're goddamn right. They make a Spider-Man PS5, I'm buying it.
I gotta say, because I didn't hear that many people mention this yet, but I think there is something to be said for a lot of these games getting the late 2022 or 2023 or no release window at all. It seemed to me like Sony was kind of trying to go in the direction of like, we want these to come out when more people can play them on the PS5, because the
Yeah.
whole showcase, they like, that was the only system they even mentioned. They weren't like, oh yeah, don't worry, you'll be able to play Spider-Man on PS4, which you will, but like, it seems like they want a lot of these games to be experienced on PS5. And I was wondering, like, maybe that's part of the, you get more time to work on the game and we get more time to try to make more fucking PS5s, because 2023 is 2 years from now. You should be able to walk into a Best Buy and just get one. It shouldn't be 3 years
Yep.
after release where we're still having this conversation.
There was even a talk about Switch OLEDs being not available after October for another couple of years, but that's a topic for another video.
Yeah.
The final thing we want to talk about here was we saw actual gameplay of God of War Ragnarok, as well as a bit more information on the story. You can kick it off with your thoughts on it. What did you like? What did you see? What did you enjoy?
I thought it looked incredible. I think when I go back and look at God of War on the PS4 and the PS4 Pro specifically, I I do not know how they made that game look so nice. And I also don't know, even though my initial reaction was like, man, I really wish this was just gonna be on PS5, because I still want to see, like, after seeing Ratchet and Clank, I am like so desperate to see what PS5 only games can look like. But at the same time, God of War is one of the best looking games I've ever seen in my life, and I have no idea how you even
Mhm.
improve on that. I mean, you could see the fucking individual hairs on his beard. Like, what can you do? What else can you add at that point? It looked really good. I thought we mentioned this earlier. The environments in this game look great. To me, that seems like a PS5 thing. Like they have more memory, they have more space, they'll be able to fit more detail into the world.
Mhm.
Even though, again, the other God of War that they just made was amazing. It was literally one of
Yep.
the best looking games I've ever seen. The only I think maybe I don't know even want to say this as a complaint, but I think like something that it's clear the devs wanted to improve on. I don't know how you even improve on perfection, but it seemed like they wanted to give the world more life
Mhm.
because in this one they showed right away like it looks like there's gonna be kind of towns or like a town city hub type of area versus the
Right.
original game it was pretty much just you and Atreus and like
Yeah.
the world serpent and then a lot of fucking water. And then that was
Yeah.
mostly it, except for like things that were trying to kill you. So yeah, I think that's going to be really cool to see like what else they want to add to the world.
Right.
It looks amazing. I don't know it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing. That game was incredible. I like God of War is literally one of the greatest games ever made. That God of War game could easily be at the top of someone's greatest games ever made list. And I wouldn't argue. So the sequel, I think, I saw a lot of reused assets, but at the same time, it's a two game story.
Mhm.
Like it's a two game arc. So this is the last one. And unless you want it to take another 6 years, they're going to reuse assets. Like that's what game companies do. They're not going to
Yep.
re-mocap every single thing in the game to make it take 10 more years to come out. Sports games do it all the time. Call of Duty games do it all the time. Reuse animations, like all that kind of stuff. But to me, there also looked like enough new things happening. I want to know what the time jump is because Atreus was older, but I couldn't really tell by
Yeah,
how
I
much.
think it's about 2 to 3 years,
Okay, yeah, that
I
sounds
think.
about right. Yeah. What about you, man? I mean, I know you loved the original one too.
Yeah, so it was my ritual back then to play it Saturday nights. I used to work nights and I used to work Saturday mornings. And then I would do Uber. So after Uber on Saturday nights, I go to 7-Eleven, I get some M&Ms and Doritos and some soda, and I'll go home. And then this is like, it could be 1 a.m. or so, 2 a.m. I go home playing God of War for about an hour or so with my snacks. It was like a movie for me or a weekly
Mm-hmm.
show. And it's funny you mentioned the whole possibility of a town or a hub because before the previous game came out, I actually had a dream about Kratos and Atreus interacting with, NPCs and all that.
Yeah.
But when I looked at the trailer, because you see them rowing the boat through the place, and there's like two individuals talking, and I looked at it again. I'm pretty sure it's Brock and Sindri again.
Yeah.
But we did see a couple new characters. I know one of them seems to be very story driven. The other one might be like a shop type of thing. Um, but I do want to see more life to the world other than just the monsters you fight. God of War 1 and I think 3 had some individuals running around, that you can kill them or, whatever. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to see some more life in the game, but as I was explaining to my brother, when you make a sequel like this, the combat and the weapons that you use would mostly be the same. Look at the Devil May Cry games; they all have the same thing, same sword, same move set, stinger, the uppercut. Same weapons. It's just that you add a couple of new things with story and weapons and combat. There's obviously going to be new moves in this game. Atreus is older, so he could have more use in the game. Because wasn't the last one you press circle to use him?
Yeah. He was
So
pretty much just an assist character.
so he could probably maybe he'll grab the axe in a combo. We don't know because as I explained to people, They're not going to show you everything. We still don't have a release date for it. They want to keep some things to themselves. I'm just really excited for the story because we get Ragnarok and Fimbulwinter and Thor, and they did show at the end of the presentation they had more discussion with the director of the game. Odin is set to make an appearance in the game. They do have a voice actor for Odin and a mocap person. Um, so we do get that. Of course, Thor being the main villain in the game. I didn't know Thor was left-handed in the mythology. And so they wanted to go with that version of Thor in this one. It said this Thor does not look like the ones we know from Australia.
Yeah, he's not
Um,
Australian. Yeah.
he's a bit, red hair, a bit chunky-ish, I think it said, or something like that. Man child. And apparently being left-handed is a thing. Like that's what matters. But I want to see the potential that Kratos can wield Mjolnir. Probably won't, because I don't think he would be worthy to wield it because he's a horrible human being. But um,
Yeah, but you know what though? Like, I think Thor is kind of a piece of shit too in this series.
yeah,
So
you never
I
know.
don't know. I don't know.
And we did get an appearance of Tyr, the Norse god of war. Um, and he's a tall boy.
Yeah, boy, when he stood up, it reminded me of Hercules in God of War 3.
Yeah.
When you see how much taller he is than Kratos, you're like, oh,
And then
you're a
you
big boy.
realize we
You're a
have
big
we
boy.
potentially have two God of Wars in this game.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, if you notice, his eyes were like sparkling. That was, I can't remember what it was exactly from the first game, but it was like um he has special eyes for, was that how he could travel between the realms? Was that what it was?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's when you get Mimir, the second one, right? And then he gets you to what's Jotunheim.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of the little girl at the end, according to the director, she's one of the last remaining giants in the world.
Oh, okay.
So
See, I
that's
didn't
where
get to
she'll
that
come
part.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's one of the last remaining giants. It's funny because she kind of looked like Zendaya a little bit, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
is she gonna play her?" And it's like, "No, it's not her." But
Interesting.
yeah, so the story, Atreus wants to find out the truth about Loki and who he is, and you know, Freya is still trying to, take out Kratos and Atreus.
Freya looked very angry
Yeah.
based on that. God of War is known for having pretty crazy opening sequences to their
Mm-hmm.
games. That to me almost looked like the beginning of the game
Probably, yeah.
because I mean it's been a little while. I know that part like the 2018 God of War ends with him killing her son. Spoilers. I mean it's 3 years later. If you listen this far in the podcast, please tell me you played God of War.
Yeah.
Um, and I could see her showing up the same way her son showed up at Kratos' house and punched him, 10 miles down the road.
Yeah.
I could see the game starting with those two still fighting. I thought what's interesting though is that Kratos doesn't like to kill people anymore. Weird fantastical beasts are a different story, but he didn't want to kill her son. He did it because the guy was never going to stop. Like he was fucking crazy.
Right.
Um, and so I don't think he wants to fight her at all, let alone have to hurt her. So that's gonna be interesting because she's really powerful.
Right.
So, we might have like a Superman situation where he never wants to really have to go full power, but like if you poke Kratos enough, he'll lose his shit.
Even in the trailer, Atreus says, "Stop thinking like a dad and start thinking like a general." And he snapped at
Yeah,
him and he said, "No." So you're probably
yeah.
right. He doesn't want to do this anymore.
Well,
Um,
I mean, because like they said in the 2018 game, it's the same Kratos. So all that shit in the other games, that's all the same character. Like this is not
yeah.
a new version of him. So I mean it would make sense that he's trying to get away from a lot of that. He didn't even have the Blades of Chaos for 80% of the first game because he didn't want to use them
Yeah.
anymore.
Yep.
And he covered up he covered him up like where the scars were from the blades. Yeah, it is interesting. He has them right at the beginning of this game, so it is cool that they're going to carry that over. Um, but he also had the axe. He was making arrows in the beginning of the trailer. At first, I thought it was just for Atreus, and then I was like, I wonder if they'd give Kratos any sort of like third weapon.
Mm.
But yeah,
'Cause he
honestly,
has
look,
used he did use a bow and arrow in the second and third game.
yeah, I mean, in the third game, they gave him like everything because he just
Yeah.
started chopping people up and taking whatever powers they had. I was gonna say, look, they could honestly copy the entire first game and just make it a different story, and I'd be very happy. Yeah, I loved that game from 2018.
And
Loved it.
it's a very exciting time coming up for Sony and all their new stuff because for a while Sony didn't really have anything announced, anything coming out. So if you're out there and you're ready for the next games of Sony, the next restock some consoles and getting these new games, get your M&Ms ready, get your Coke and Pepsis
Yeah.
ready, and sit back and play these games, and it's going to be an amazing next 2 years from now, 2 to 3 years.
Hell yeah. And
um
I gotta say, from like a gaming in general standpoint, because there was a bit of a lull because of the pandemic and they couldn't work on stuff. It looks like, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, we are in for a smorgasbord of great gaming content. I mean, if you're a Nintendo fan, you got a bunch of Pokemon stuff coming up. You got Breath of the Wild 2 coming up. If you're Xbox, Halo's coming out literally in like 2 months. Forza's coming out. Like they're gonna start Starfield next year, whatever the hell that game even is. And if you're, into PlayStation, they've got the next, I saw some like it to me almost felt like quality over quantity because it looked like, you'll get God of War next year and Horizon, but I think God of War is a bigger name. You'll get Spider-Man the year after that. You might get Wolverine the year after that, depending on I don't if it's the same studio working on it, then how could they possibly have that game done any time before the year
right.
2026? But if they break off separately, I don't know. Um, but man, between Legends Arceus and Forza and Halo, Ghost of Tsushima DLC just came out. There, Wolverine, Spider-Man, God of War, Horizon. For anyone who cares about Deathloop, uh, there's there's so much like awesome Breath of the Wild too. There's so much awesome gaming content coming out that it looks like we have survived the dry dark ages. And also, maybe we'll be back to talk about this next month. uh DC showcase, whatever they're calling it.
Is
we're
that next
getting
month?
news about we're getting news about Batman, or Suicide Squad, and Arkham, whatever the fuck that new Arkham game is called. So yeah,
And
gaming is
that's
back, baby. Gaming
It's
is
back.
back. Exciting. It's
And that's going to
exciting.
be our podcast for tonight. Thank you guys for listening. If you made it all the way to the end, let us know in the comments. Let us know which of these games you are most excited for. Your boy is excited for that Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I'm Anthony Olan. Don't forget to check out my other channel at Anthony Olan Tech. And we got Chris Langsdorf here. Don't forget to check out his channel, The Film Cubano. And Frankie should be with us next time, whether it's next week or next month or next year. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we'll definitely get that figured out. But we thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you guys on the next episode. Have a good one.